Oklahoma,
Yeah.
sunny. Oklahoma, hopefully you're staying away from the tigers out there.
I did
All
not.
right, cool. So what we're going to do is, Stephanie and I are going to talk about a few things. And if you guys have questions, be sure to ask them in the chat. We typically do Q&A at the end of this. So anybody that has any questions, any tips on how to make the virtual background work on Zoom, that's actually a good question. I'm not a Zoom expert. I usually just use an external thing, and I'll throw on the let's see, virtual background. I'm not even going to mess with it. I think I can do the Eiffel Tower, or not the Eiffel Tower. There we go. I'm in San Francisco right now. I don't know how to make that look professional, so I can't help with that. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm joined today by Stephanie Everett from Lawyerist.com. Now, Stephanie, you're the president at Lawyerist?
I am.
Awesome. Cool. So, and I know you had a really cool book come out. Do you want to tell everybody maybe a Reader's Digest version of your background and everything? And I'm sure a lot of people from you guys, from Lawyerist, is on here as well.
Yeah. Quick story on me. I am a lawyer. So graduated from law school, went into big law thinking that I'd be at that firm forever. And that's where I'd retire because I had no idea. And about 6 years in, got the opportunity to start my own practice with a partner. So we launched a small real estate litigation boutique. Started with the two of us and a legal assistant. And in just under 7 years, we had a team of 20. So I was the managing partner, and you and I are kind of chatting right before we started. Loved the business of law, loved figuring out what it meant that we had this law firm, but we were running a business. And so then in 2015, when I was kind of looking for a shift with my family, and I had a young daughter at the time, it was like people were coming to me saying, "Hey, how did you do this thing? How did you grow your business that fast? What were you doing?" And I realized in all those conversations I was having, wow, maybe lawyers need some help here. And this is something that I could do that I was really passionate about. So I shifted and got certified as a coach and kind of got into the coaching and consulting world. And I've been in a couple of different iterations of that. And now I'm at Lawyerist, where I help guide lawyers to build healthier businesses.
Cool. That's something that I talk to a lot of lawyers, and I'm not sure if you've ever read The E-Myth. It's a pretty popular book.
Yeah.
A lot of lawyers are great lawyers, and they go out and start their own law firm. And just because you're a great lawyer doesn't mean you're great at marketing or great at, accounting or great at just the million fires that come up when you start any business, not just a law firm. And that, I think that's something that a lot of lawyers struggle with because of the fact that, especially ones that have worked at other firms, or, maybe they were at they work for the government or things like that. They jump into their own law firm, and there's way more things that they never really bargained for. A lot of lawyers just want to be a lawyer. They don't want to handle all the business stuff. And I think that's why, services like Lawyerist are so popular. I know that's why my stuff is so popular, because a lot of times I talk to lawyers all the time who just aren't prepared for how difficult it can be to get clients. And a lot of other things, dealing with staff, and just all the things that come with running any business, not just a law firm. So
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, so what are you seeing? What differences are you seeing right now? We were talking a little bit about kind of the COVID shift and everything. And I've done a bunch of webinars about how to survive in COVID, but I don't really want to make that the theme of this one. What we were talking about before is kind of what are just some of the ways that you see that firms have changed, and what are some of the most effective ways that you've seen firms kind of pivot, just, adjusting to virtual working and all those types of things?
Yeah, virtual is definitely a thing now. Luckily, a lot of the folks that are in our community were already on that path. And so we actually had a short venting session yesterday where people were like, my clients are adapting to virtual, and my firm is operating great, but they were getting frustrated with other opposing counsel, with other attorneys who haven't made the switch as fast. And I can appreciate how frustrating that could be, because it feels like we've been talking about this for a really long time. If you've ever been in the lawyerist world, we've been talking about paperless and virtual, and just doing things differently, and being in the cloud, being able to work from anywhere for years. So I hope that our community, we're hopeful that lawyers are on it and are making that transition very easily. So I don't think that, I haven't seen too many people struggle with that, although there's been pieces of it. I think though, to be fair, working with family and working at home is very different. So if anyone, I've been remote for about 2.5 years, and I'm telling everyone, this is not what remote work is like, because I'm not normally trying to also enforce my daughter's school schedule and deal with all the other things that are going on. But in terms of what lawyers, what I'm seeing that are different, is that in terms of COVID or just generally?
I just, kind of where things are going. I think that there's a lot of lawyers that have always wanted to add a virtual element to their law firm, and they were always scared to do it. And now they've been forced to, and they're realizing that it's actually not as scary as they thought it was.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned you work from home. How many kids do you have at home?
Just one. She's 9. She's on a screen right now. Threatened to be quiet.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, nice. We try to limit it. We have I've got 3, and they're at 2:00. They're allowed to have their iPads, but we try not to let them have them before that, unless they're really driving us crazy, or I have a conference call or something that I need quiet for. So
yeah.
So one of the things that I think is really interesting is that, like you said, the law firms that have kind of been following what you guys have been teaching and adapting, and are quick to adapt, maybe they didn't necessarily feel the pinch so much as the firms that were completely brick and mortar, and they had to move over and figure out, how do I become virtual overnight, essentially, So what are some of the biggest tips that you have for firms that are still trying to find their feet in how to work virtual? I know that you guys have done a lot of teaching people on virtual. Like, what are some of the best tips that you have?
Yeah. So number one, this is going to seem really silly, but if you're not already set up with your home office setup, if you need to, drive to your office and get your desktop, get your second monitor, get all the things that you need to work efficiently, and just go ahead and bring that home, because it looks like you may be home for a while. So it's probably worth it. And when this thing first launched, we had people asking us, how do I access, I'm not cloud-based, and how do I get onto my desktop from home? And we were like, you know what, for you, it might just be easier. Go pick up your stuff and bring it home and get a good home setup, because it is important that you're comfortable in your space and you have all the things you need. So that seems like a really simple tip, but it's just make sure you have the tech. And then second, I would say make sure that you are comfortable with what you're using, your setup and your technology, and that you train your team and your clients. So I found, I've been working with folks for a long time. I do all my meetings virtually. I have been for years. And the first time people come on with me, I'll send them a Zoom link, for example, and maybe they'll call in and they don't realize. And then, so we send them we have a video that we send everyone who joins our community and says, hey, here's how you use video. And by the way, the headsets that you see us wearing, there's a real reason that we're wearing those. It's not just, because we know you can hear us if you don't have a headset in. The problem is it creates feedback, right? Like if my computer noises get picked up in my microphone, it's gonna make for a not great user experience. So we've actually recorded a short video that we use with our community, and lawyers can do the same thing. Do a quick training video. You can use free software at loom.com, for example. You can do you can record a video of yourself, even with your screenshot, and just teach people, hey, here's how you're going to use this tool. Here's how you're going to show up with me. This is some best practices we can do to make our experience better. And then your clients are going to be more comfortable, and they're going to show up the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're adapting to a new environment. One of the things that will kill you is technical problems. If you're trying to do virtual consultations over Zoom, and it takes 20 minutes just to figure out how to get Zoom installed, that's definitely a problem. So what we've been telling some clients to do is, if they have the resources, try to do a pre-call tech walkthrough with the potential clients, where basically we can say, hey, just want to make sure you have Zoom set up, before the actual consultation. That way they can just get on and everything's working well. Because there's definitely, especially if it's a consultation type setting where it's a sales session. You're trying to get them to hire your firm, and if somebody's already frustrated because they can't get their camera to work or they can't get their microphone to work, or, you're doing the whole thing where you can see them, but you can't hear them. It's just going to frustrate them. And it's not going to help you, So, we do that also when I do my coaching calls. We have a video, and actually, I don't even think it's a video that I recorded. I think it's just a video that we found on YouTube that's from Zoom that says, hey, here's how you access Mac permissions. Because actually, Apple is really the problem, because you have to go into system preferences and give all the appropriate permissions, So we always make sure to send that video out just so that there's no issues, and it just makes everything a lot smoother, and it makes everybody a lot happier, So what's interesting though is that the law firms that have, like I said, like I was saying, the ones that kind of really adapt and that are not afraid of changing and adapting the times, those are typically the ones that will ultimately be successful. And we've seen this forever, I mean, even, and obviously I lean towards marketing, but even not a couple years ago, maybe like 20 years ago, there was a lot of lawyers that were using Yellow Pages. And then these things called websites came along, and there were some lawyers that really jumped on websites, and they're still seeing the benefit of getting in on that thing early, and then there's lawyers that are using social media right now that are just absolutely killing it. But there's also lawyers that are hesitant to it. But I think there's a lot of different things where if you're not always changing and you're not always adapting and figuring out what are the new technologies that can make us, faster, better, leaner, all that type of stuff, then there's going to be another law firm that comes along that does do that, and they're going to beat you. So that's why it's really important to really stay on top of a lot of this stuff, and really kind of embrace the fact that, this year has changed law firms probably more than any other year in a single, couple month period, than any time I've been doing this for 8 years. I can't think of anything that's really changed it since then. And just kind of even knowing the history. I mean, I don't think there's anything that's really changed with them as much as what we're going through right now, which is really cool. So,
my big takeaway
in
there.
terms of, go ahead. You go ahead.
It's okay.
It's funny. I think there's a delay.
As we kind of, yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I'm sorry. It might be the storms coming through Atlanta, but
it's okay.
No, I was just going to say that the overall theme there seems to just be intentional with your business. And I think we're about to dive into some really specific, actionable steps that people can take with their marketing and with all the things that they're thinking about for their business. And it's all about being intentional. Like, you're remote now, be intentional in setting up a remote practice, be intentional with, how you're going to approach your business, and that it takes time and effort to do these things, but it'll pay off.
So one of the coolest things right now, and this is something, and I always preach about authenticity and how lawyers, like, just kind of getting into marketing. I'm huge in video. I'm huge in providing as much value as possible. And a lot of times I talk to lawyers, and they're afraid of not feeling professional or not appearing to be professional, and right now I think is great, because you actually have the excuse, at least if you can tell yourself this, the excuse to not be as professional as maybe you would be when you're creating content and creating videos and things like that. And I talk to lawyers all the time, and they're like, well, should I have a professional background? Should I be in front of a bookshelf? And a lot of times what I have found, and what I think is really beneficial, is when people are authentic. So I do videos all the time where my dog is in the background, or my kids are in the background, or different things like that. And those videos get better response than just the videos where everything's perfect. And I think that lawyers will realize that also, because I think that lawyers have this, they feel like they have this responsibility to be as professional as possible. And I think that people also look at lawyers and they hold them to a higher regard. So if you look at a lawyer and then you look at them and say, oh, wait, they have kids running, their kids are screaming in the background too, or their dog's jumping on the couch also, and I think that will make you more relatable than you would have been in any other circumstance. I've given this example a couple times where I was talking to somebody a couple weeks ago, and they're from Boston. And I was saying that they'd probably get better rapport with their audience if they wore a Red Sox hat than if they wore a suit. because if you're from Boston, you're a huge Red Sox fan usually, or a Patriots fan, you know, and any way that you can relate to your audience and show that you're actually a real person and not perfect, then you're going to be more successful. It's going to work. That's why videos that are filmed on my iPhone, or anyone's iPhone for that matter, typically perform better than highly professional videos with B-roll and slow motion and, you know, that type of stuff. And it just gives you an opportunity where you don't have a choice, or at least it gives you an excuse where you can maybe be a little bit less professional. I'm not saying the information is not good. The information obviously has to be top shelf, but it'll allow you to maybe relax a little bit so that you can just give yourself permission to be authentic and not necessarily be as professional as possible. And I think there's a lot of people that are trying to record videos that worry about that and struggle with that.
Yeah, I love that. We use a lot of video, including in our marketing at Lawyerist. And one of the videos I shot recently on my iPhone, where I just kind of talked in real terms about how hard this is and how hard it is to have my daughter here. And I like certainty and I like plans. And I was like, guys, I feel like we're in this uncertainty period right now. And I just want to be moving my business forward and making plans and doing things. I don't do well with just where we are right now, where it feels like we're in the muck. This video performed so well, right? Like, it was just me talking about how I'm feeling. And it wasn't professional. It was just shot, like I said, with my iPhone and my little boom mic. And everybody, it was interesting. The comments I got, also people related to it, but then a lot of people were like, wait, Stephanie, how'd you shoot that video? It looks awesome. And I was like, it's just my iPhone, guys. It's not fancy.
Yeah, that's the crazy part, is like a lot of times people want to get these really, you know, like DSLR cameras and all types of stuff. And honestly, this phone right here, this is the best camera. I mean, this is a 4K camera. You don't need much better than that. And the audio on it's good too, as long as you're close to it. Like if you're just holding it kind of like a selfie. It's funny, I used to use AirPods all the time to record my videos because I thought that they sounded really good, because I would hold it up, I'd have my AirPods on, and I'd be like, oh, that sounds pretty good. I don't need anything else. And then, like, I don't know, like 20 or 30 videos later, I realized, and I was actually giving out the advice, oh yeah, you should use AirPods because they're awesome. It sounds really good. And then I found out that the AirPods don't actually record anything while you're recording video. I was actually just picking up the camera, the microphone right from the iPhone. And, you know, I did a whole video about how dumb I was, that this whole time I thought I was using the microphone and the AirPods, and really the camera itself sounded great. The only time you really need like an external microphone is if you're going to be kind of away from the camera, because then it'll get a little echoey. But I mean, that's the thing, is like, done is better than perfect. And if you can keep it simple and keep it authentic and keep it valuable, that's going to be the best thing. Everybody has a lot of problems. So the easiest thing that you can do, like if any lawyer that wants to market their law firm right now, the easiest, most simple thing you can do is you can figure out what are the problems that the people that I'm following, or sorry, the people that, you know, my potential clients, what are the problems that they have, right? And figure out what are the problems, what are the solutions to those problems, and then pull out your iPhone and record a video talking about the problem and then the solution to the problem. And if you do that, you can actually, there's a format that I like using called Hook, Story, Offer. And basically what that comes down to, it's hook, which is like a really catchy title, right? So, and this is one thing that lawyers typically need a little bit of help with, because a lot of times the marketing title, the marketing brain isn't turned on all the time. But like, you know, you say something like, you know, 3 things to do if you're stuck at home and you hate your spouse, you know, like something that's kind of catchy, you know. And then story, basically what you do is you tell a story. It can be a real story. It can be a partially real story. It can be a story that you heard somewhere, but you tell a story about someone who is stuck at home. Now they're quarantined and they're stuck with their spouse and they had to deal with it. Right. And, you know, give some really good advice about some different ways that you can help them solve that problem, because they have that problem. They're stuck with their spouse. They hate their spouse, or whatever the problem may be. And then at the end, you do an offer, and the offer should be, and this is where a lot of lawyers get it wrong also, but the offer should just be like an offer that you would make to a friend. So you should just talk the entire time. You should be talking to the camera like you're talking to a friend. So if a friend of yours hated her husband, if you're a divorce attorney and a friend of yours hated her husband and she was stuck at home, and you wouldn't say, well, call me on Friday for a free consultation. You know, you would say, listen, if you're having trouble, if you're struggling with this, send me a message. You know, or pick up the phone, give me a call, and we'll talk about it. And I'll let you know kind of what your options are, what you should do, what I would do if I were you. And if I can't help you, then I'll point you to somebody that can help, you know? And that type of format will go a long way and will be extremely effective. And that's the easiest thing to do. And the only thing you need is your iPhone. That's all you need. You don't need anything fancy about it, anything fancy. It's an amazing time that we live in right now.
Yeah. Love that, and love the advice, because I've gotten it too. Like, it's so intimidating when you first start making videos, guys. I get it. And you're thinking, but I'm a lawyer. I don't want to be in the camera. And I hope that this remote experience is making you be in front of the camera more because you get more comfortable. But the advice of just picture your client or your friend on the other side and talk to that person is so valuable, because then also the message resonates and the authenticity will come out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole thing, is like, a lot of times in terms of being in front of the camera, the only way to get good at it is just to do it, and you've got to understand that you're not going to be very good. You're going to suck at first, probably. And the reality is that most people aren't willing to suck long enough at something to get good at it, because there's very few things that you're going to do over and over and over and over and over again and actually get worse at, So, and it's always funny because I'll talk to lawyers who have done 500 trials in their life, and they get on camera and they're afraid of the camera, and it's like, trust me, handling a trial is way more difficult than getting on camera and talking about something that you already know for a couple minutes. It's just a matter of the camera's a little uncomfortable and you just have to do it, and as you do it more and more, it gets more comfortable. So, speaking of getting, kind of things you can do remotely and things you can do to actually continue to further your law firm as you're going through. One of the biggest problems that I think that lawyers make, and one of the biggest mistakes that that really businesses in general, but especially law firms make, is they don't follow up with clients and they don't follow up with consultations and things like that. Like, think about the last consultation that came in your office, or the last person that called your office or filled out a contact form. How many times do you ever actually go back and follow up with those people, or not even that, but there's two ways you can do it. There's a manual follow-up process, which is actually, reaching out and saying, hey, we met a couple of weeks ago. Did you get a chance to think about if you wanted to hire us, or whatever you say. But then there's also the remarketing side of things in terms of actually having an automated system. And I'm actually really curious if you guys could let me know in the comments, how many people here actually go through and follow up with clients, either by reaching out again after a consultation or after a phone call or anything like that, or have some sort of automated follow-up. Does anyone have one? And let me know if you do, and let me know if you don't. We actively follow up on leads. No automated, but I do follow up.
Yeah, it looks like some folks are. That's good.
Gotta follow up. Yeah. I do not automate it and manually. I follow up on everything. I rarely reach out. Sometimes, generally I do not. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, when you look at people in general, typically 93% of people are not in a situation where they're ready to make a purchase. And that's across the board. It doesn't matter what you're selling. So what ends up happening is they'll contact you, even if they like what you have to say. They may lose your number, especially like if they found you on like a Facebook ad or a pay-per-click ad or something like that. There's so many law firms out there that they may not remember your name, or they may not remember your website. So it's extremely important. I used to transfer VHS tapes to DVD when I was in college, and I would put those yard signs out. Basically just said, transfer your VHS tapes to DVD, and people would call me, but they would never, and they'd call me, they'd be really excited about it. And then they say, I'm going to go home, I'm going to count how many tapes I have, and I'm going to call you back, and we're going to do this. And they would never call me back. So I realized after about 2 weeks of no one calling me back, I actually had to reach out to them, call them. And then I made like $5,000 the first weekend as a broke college kid. That was pretty amazing, but follow-up is so important. You guys do a lot of follow-up with Lawyerist also. I've gotten a bunch of emails from you guys since we started talking about all this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like your low-hanging fruit. And one of the lawyers that I work with, I loved this story. Like, they kept, after the consultation, they have a planned follow-up, right? Where they keep checking in, just follow up with the potential client. And this person finally said, you know what? I actually didn't hire you. I hired another law firm, but you reach out to me more than the law firm that I hired has reached out to me to talk about my case. So I've decided to fire that law firm and go with you because you're so, you must be on it. And this must be, if you do this in your sales process, I can't imagine how I'm going to be when I'm a client. And so.
Yeah, no, it's true. And also, especially if you can put together a really good follow-up system, and actually it's really easy to put together a follow-up system. The way that I have my entire follow-up, well, my follow-up system's a little complex, but the way that I started my follow-up system and mostly my remarketing ads and all that type of stuff is basically what I do is I sit there and I think about every objection that I've ever heard. So when somebody comes in and they don't hire you and there's a reason that they didn't hire you, all right, there's going to be all kinds of objections that either real or fake, but there's always going to be all these different stories that are in people's heads, right? So what I did is I made a list of every single objection. And then I came up with an answer or a way to overcome every single one of those objections. And every single one of those became a remarketing ad that I ran on Facebook and a remarketing email that basically, if you watched my webinar, for example, and you didn't buy, and, so now you're going to start getting a series of emails from me, and those emails are going to be informative, but they're going to be dealing with the most popular objections that I hear all the time. So, for me, it's like, okay, well, I want to do social media, but I don't know what the ethical rules are, right? I don't know if I'm allowed. I don't know if the bar is even going to let me. So my first email that I send out is an interview I did with an attorney where we're literally just talking about ethics and all that type of stuff. And then another one's like, I want to do social media, but I don't have time. I don't want to be, I don't want to be Kim Kardashian posting all day long and, sitting in front of the camera all day. And so my next one is, oh, well, here's how you just do 5 minutes a day and you can do this entire thing and it takes 5 minutes. So that's the easiest way to do follow-up. And it makes it so that you're not bugging people and you don't feel like you're bugging people, but what you're doing is you're actually overcoming every single objection that they have. So that's a really good homework assignment. If you can sit down and think about what is every single objection, and big or small, that people have for not hiring you, or what are all the reasons that they haven't hired you, then you can put those in an email, film a video or write a piece of content or do something that basically will overcome or trump every single one of those objections. And it works really well. It's one of the easiest things you can do and the most effective things you can do because it's evergreen, because typically the objections don't change unless you're in some weird situation like we're in right now, but typically the objections don't change.
Right. And yeah, and you've already done the hard work. You've already gotten the person's attention. So I assume, you've used the term remarketing ad a couple of times. Do you feel like maybe you should just define that, make sure everyone here knows?
Gotcha. Yeah. So remarketing ads, I'm sure a lot of people have seen this where, anyone that follows me knows what a remarketing ad is because who here is on my email list and doesn't see me all over YouTube and Facebook constantly. But basically the idea behind remarketing is that what you want to do is you want to kind of be omnipresent, but when someone goes to your website, you can actually, using Facebook or a YouTube tag, you can basically add them to a list that's then going to show ads to those people again. Now, what's cool is you can say anyone that's been to any of my websites or watched any of my videos, but you can even get more granular and you can say anyone that's been to the divorce page on my website, show them ads specific about divorce, or show them, if they've been to the child custody page, show them ads specific to child custody. I don't know why I'm really heavy in family law today, but I guess I am. But car accidents, anyone that's been to my car accident page or anyone that's been to my motorcycle accident page, show them specific ads with pictures of motorcycle riders in them, right? So you can do really cool stuff like that. And it works really well. Just think about every time that you've gone to Amazon or you've gone to, a major website and you're looking at like a toaster, and then all of a sudden that toaster is everywhere, there's a reason these companies do it. They're smart enough. They've got the data, they've got the analytics. The reason that they show you that same thing over and over and over and over and over again is because it's profitable. And that's the reality. When I look at, my businesses, when I look at where my money comes from, what generates sales, I'd say 80% of it is remarketing. Very, very, actually probably even higher than that. I would say very, very rarely does somebody go from a cold lead where they've never heard of me before. They see an ad, they click on it, they watch my webinar, then they buy something. I don't know that that's happened more than 5% of the time. It very rarely happens. But instead, what happens is people see me, and then they see me over and over and over and over again, and I provide value, and I crush objections, and I do webinars, and I do all types of stuff, and then eventually they hire me. And that's the type of thing. But what's cool about that is you set it up once, and you don't have to keep doing it over and over again. You just have to get the system right the first time.
Yeah. I'll confess that after you and I connected, like now I can't sleep at night, and I'm doing Sudoku on my phone in the middle of the night, and there you are, you show up, and I'm just like, oh my God, he is everywhere. So.
Yeah, I'm omnipresent. But you know what's funny is that my remarketing campaigns I haven't touched them for a while. I mean, like probably at least 6 months, I haven't changed anything in remarketing. It just happens automatically. And that's what's so cool about all this is you don't have to, like a lot of people think that I don't sleep. All I do is market. And I set the systems up correctly and it works. And actually, if anybody wants to see how I did it, you can go to lawyermasterclass.com and there's an hour-long training that basically shows you step-by-step how to do it. There's no sales pitch or anything on there. It basically just shows you exactly how I set this entire system up and how we do it for law firms and how you can do it as well. So now there's a couple other things. And by the way, I saw a couple of people have asked questions. If you want to ask a question, make sure to ask it in the Q&A section because the problem is, Neil said, I know your ads by heart. I filmed 3 new ads yesterday. So you got some new ads coming. Make sure they're in the Q&A section because we don't always see the ads that are just the comments that are just in the chat. So there was something that a few people have asked me about, and it was something that I was talking about leading up to this webinar, and it's the $10,000 iPhone trick. And basically what I said is I said that I could make you buy an iPhone for $10,000. And I don't know if anybody, I did one video on this before, and I think that it really flew under the radar because it didn't get a lot of views, but I think that it's actually a really, really interesting case study that most lawyers don't think can apply to their law firm. And I want to talk to you about it real quick. So, and Stephanie, I told you I was going to talk about this. And I don't think I told you exactly what it was. So the question is, let me know in the comments, who would buy this iPhone right here for $10,000 right now? Is there anyone that would buy it for $10,000? All right. A big no from Ann.
Yeah.
Okay.
That came quick.
Oh, wait. Kim said, all right,
Yeah.
Kim, so give me your credit card. All right. So a lot of no's. Okay. So there's a way that I can sell this iPhone for $10,000, probably even more than $10,000. And this is something that you can apply to your law firm, because the thing about this iPhone is that there's nothing special about this iPhone. This iPhone is a commodity. You could buy this iPhone from AT&T. You could buy it from Sprint. You could buy it from T-Mobile. You could buy it from any of the other companies, Verizon, which is where I got mine, right? But pretty much it's the same thing, right? It depends on how much it's worth after my forensic examiner goes through it. There's nothing that bad on here, don't worry. But here's the thing. If I wanted to, let's say we're looking at your law firm. The reality is that your law firm is very similar to this iPhone. Now, you may be a better lawyer, but most people don't know that, because if they knew that, then they would just look up your name and call you, right? So most people look at you as this iPhone. So this iPhone is a commodity because you can get it anywhere. And basically the only difference is, maybe Sprint gives you something different. But how do you sell this for $10,000? Well, let's say it's all about how you kind of package the offer. So let's say in this iPhone, what I was going to do is, if I was going to sell you this, what I would do, the first thing I would do is I would pull out the contact information, and I would program my phone number in there, right? And I would give you my phone number. And then, so if you buy this iPhone from me for $10,000, you're not only going to get the iPhone, but you're also going to get my phone number. And that means that anytime you have any questions, and I'll leave it in there for a year, anytime you have any questions, all you have to do is pull out your phone and you can text me or you can give me a call. Actually, what I'm going to do is instead, I'm going to use this really cool app called Voxer. And what Voxer does, which is really cool, is basically you pull it up. Let me see if I can pull up Voxer right here. And you can see right here, like what I can do is I can actually talk right now. And I'm actually talking to somebody right now. This is Chris. And basically it's like a bat line right to my phone. So for a year, I'm going to put Voxer on here. I'm going to program my special code in there, and you can actually call me for anytime you want. If you have any question, all you have to do is pick up the phone and you're going to call me. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to pull up the calendar app, and I'm going to book every week. I'm going to book a 1-hour meeting with you and me. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to talk about your marketing. And I'm essentially going to be the chief marketing officer for your law firm for the next year. So you're going to get the iPhone, you're going to get access, the bat line directly to me. You're going to get a meeting with me every single week for about an hour to go over all of your marketing. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take the video section in here, and I'm going to load all the video trainings that I've ever done, and I'm going to put it on this iPhone, right? So let me ask you a question. And I'm not selling this iPhone. I'm not doing this. But if basically I actually sold an iPhone that gave you a bat line directly to me, and you were able to talk to me whenever you wanted, and you just pick up the phone and then I respond. And then we're going to have a weekly meeting every single week where we go through your marketing, every single week. And I tell you exactly what to do. And then you get all my training and all that type of stuff. Who here is more likely to buy that iPhone for $10,000? This is a risky thing because I've never done this. Still nope. Okay. Well, I've got a lot. I would go a little deeper in that conversation, but I'll tell you right now, we have people that actively pay me $10,000, $20,000, actually as much as $30,000 a year for that exact service. So Bruce said, yes, I would. Another person said, amen. Another person said, me. So yeah, I mean, it's basically, it's all about the offer. And my point is that as a lawyer, you have to make an offer. You've got to decommoditize yourself, because you cannot go to AT&T or Sprint or Verizon and buy an iPhone that has access to me and has meetings with me and has all my trainings on it. You just can't do it. So, okay, it said service yes, phone no. Okay, well, you get the point, right? So bottom line is that what you need to do is you need to figure out what type of offer can you make to your clients that's going to differentiate you from all the other lawyers out there. What is something like, if you're a personal injury attorney, what can you do that's gonna what can you offer that they will not be able to get anywhere else? And you can even borrow some of those things that I said. Like, you can install Voxer. Voxer is a great thing, because what's cool about Voxer is that you don't have to treat it like a text message. You can do it where you turn it on, turn it off. We had a personal injury attorney that would basically, we created this thing for him called a medical concierge. And what would happen is, as soon as you sign up with their firm, you get put in touch with their medical concierge, and their medical concierge, which was just his assistant, by the way, but their medical concierge would book all of your doctor's appointments and arrange the payments and all that type of stuff for you, so you don't have to worry about it, So it's like, what you have to think about is you have to think about what are all the things that you can do that would differentiate you and make you decommoditize, so that you decommoditize yourself from all the other lawyers out there. And once you do that, then it's really easy to get clients. And the other thing to think about is that if people aren't hiring you, then you need to think about, how do I not lower my prices, but how do I increase the value? So like, for example, if you're a criminal defense attorney, one thing you could do is you could say, okay, well, we're going to handle your criminal defense case, and then in 2 years come back and I'm going to throw in a free expungement, like, so we're going to beat the case. And then not only that, 2 years later, when you're eligible, we're going to get it off your record, and you're going to get, I'm going to give you my contact with the, I've got a really good insurance contact who gets really good insurance for people who have been arrested for DUI. I'm going to hook you up with that contact, so you're going to save money there. I got a guy who's going to, I don't know, hide the thing that you blow into on the steering wheel. I got a guy who can conceal that, so when people in your car, they're not going to see that you're doing that. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up, but like, when you figure out different ways that you can actually decommoditize yourself and make an offer that other attorneys cannot make, then it's so easy to get clients, because they can only get the service from you. Breathalyzer.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about what's the thing that the ignition lock control, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's anything like that, but it'd be an interesting bonus. But what do you think about that? Because you guys do a lot of offers with lawyers, don't you?
Yeah, and so we're always looking for ways to add value, and you know, go beyond what people are just anticipating. So when we first started, it was like you could get coaching sessions with just me. And now we've added a whole team of coaches, and we've created even more opportunities for specialized expertise, or our workshops or masterminds. We're always bringing in, I mean, we're always looking for listening. First of all, we listen to our clients and we're like, what is the need? And then how can we address it? If there's a way I can solve a problem, then I love doing that.
Yeah. So that's one of the coolest things. And actually a real ninja way to do this is when you create your offer, if your offer can tie in the objections, that's like, if you can figure out what are all the objections that they have, like perfect example would be, I don't want to hire you because it's a big firm and I don't think that I'm going to get the personalized attention that I would get from a smaller firm, for anyone that's at a big firm. Say, okay, cool. Well, what we're going to do to make sure that you can get in touch with us whenever you want, I'm going to install this app called Voxer, and it's a bat line right to us. And anytime you have a question, you just pull out the phone. All you do is talk. It's just like those old Nextiva phones, you know, and you turn all your objections into the things that are going to be the offer, you know? So like, you know, if you have funding available, one of the big objections is always going to be about money. I don't have money for this, you know? So one thing you can do is you can offer PayPal credit. And there's a lot, you know, PayPal credit, we fund up to $5,000. Actually, I think we funded up to $7,800 with PayPal credit, which is really cool because that's a decent chunk of a retainer. So you can say, well, what if I could give you 6 months, no interest, no payments? And most people are going to be pretty interested in that. You say, okay, cool. Well, we have a relationship with PayPal credit, and all you have to do is go on PayPal, and we'll request your retainer from you, and you fill out, you answer a couple of quick questions. And then once you get approved, they send the money directly to us, and you don't have to make a payment or do anything for 6 months. There's not many lawyers out there that can do 6 months, no interest, no payment. So that right there is a cool offer that you could do. And there's other funding sources also that if anybody needs a funding source, let me know. I actually have a really good funding source. But, you know, it's just all about how do you make yourself different from everyone else, and how do you create an offer that no other attorney that no other attorney is going to offer? Because even if attorneys copy you, they're not going to have that exact offer, and especially if your offer answers all of their objections, there's no reason for them not to hire you. It really just it's really a game changer when you start doing this.
Yeah, love that.
Continual head nodding is distracting. Sorry.
I know. I'm a very encouraging listener. I get it all the time. I get called out when I'm.
Oh, I thought they were talking about me because I'm not.
No, I think I'm
agreeing a lot also.
I think I'm trying to agree with you. Like, yeah, that all sounds good. I hope people are taking advantage of these things. So.
Oh, I thought they were talking about me. Well, you know, I mean, hey,
we'll both try to.
I say you know and nonstop. I mean, you know. That's got to be distracting also. So yeah, if anybody needs the resource on the funding, let me know. Just send me an email, Andy@socialfirestarter.com. We've got a really good funding source. They're a little tighter right now just because of the fact that it's with COVID. I think basically you have to make $40,000 a year and have a 620 credit score to get approved. But there's a decent number of people that will qualify. We've gotten people qualified for that also. So yeah, in terms of talking about pivoting or kind of changing with the times, a lot of lawyers have talked about pivoting. What's your thoughts on lawyers when they pivot and change to a different practice area or change to a different niche, or what's your thoughts on that?
So when I think of the word pivot, I don't necessarily think it means you have to change practice areas. But I do think it might mean that you need to think about your ideal client and what value they need right now, kind of just what you were just talking about. And so maybe, because not necessarily because of COVID, I'm more concerned about the recession that I think we're walking into or we're in. Maybe, I don't think it's been officially declared yet, but let's face it, like times are tough right now. My husband owns a business and it's been more severely impacted than mine because he's a beer distributor. So he sells to bars and restaurants, and his customers are closed right now. So that's impacting our business. So you can start seeing this ripple effect that these shutdowns are having. And so that's going to impact your clients potentially and your potential clients. And so if they don't have the same resources available to them, I mean, the good news is they still need help, right? And you lawyers, you're the helpers. And so your clients are still going to need you, but maybe what they value or how they think about what they need from you might shift. So I think pivoting doesn't necessarily have to be about changing practice areas, although it could be, and certainly something you should consider. But again, it comes back to being very intentional about who is it that you're trying to market to, who's your ideal client, what are their struggles right now, and then what opportunities can you take advantage of and use to show how you can really help them and serve them in a really valuable way.
Yeah, I think you're 100% accurate. I've talked to a few lawyers that, it's funny. We have had a criminal defense. He's still a client. He's a criminal defense attorney. He's like, hey, I want to get into bankruptcy. And I was talking to him. I was like, well, have you ever done bankruptcy before? He's like, no, but I think it's going to be a really big practice area. And it's challenging because when you get into brand new, I'm always big on like providing the best service that you can. And I know that if you've done criminal defense for 25 years or 30 years, and then you just start doing bankruptcy, you're not going to be as good as the other bankruptcy attorneys. It takes a lot of, but it's like, but what I would rather see lawyers do, and what we're helping lawyers do, is figure out, like you said, what are the current problems that they have, and how can that fit into what you're doing? So for example, this attorney, what we ended up doing is we ended up switching over to expungements.
Yeah.
Because the problem that people have right now is they need to get a job. Right. And when they go to get a job, what does it say on the job application? Have you ever been convicted of a felony, or have you ever been, so he was like, what we could do is we could basically start advertising to get rid of that, because there's not a lot of people that are driving right now. And his DUI business is basically is nothing right now because people aren't driving and not getting pulled over, So what he did is basically what we started doing is we started focusing on expungements, and we started running Facebook ads and doing all that type of stuff. And he got 7 consultations booked just yesterday, So it's just all about figuring out how can you pivot and still continue doing what, using your expertise. Like don't, just completely do something new, but what area of your practice area can you work on? For criminal defense, you can focus on, domestic violence. That's a big thing right now. Or expungements. We've got personal injury attorneys that are doing business interruption insurance claims and things like that, So it really just comes down to how can you just pivot, and how can you take, what's the part of your business, or what's the part of your practice area that is still in need right now, and what are your ideal clients? What are the unique problems that they have right now, and how do you start solving those problems? And that's a big thing. Sarah said, I've pivoted away from selling and towards serving in ways I wouldn't have offered to serve before the crisis. That's 100% right. And honestly, just pivoting in terms of even in your message, if you've always had kind of a salesy message, if you pivot your message in terms of just trying to help and just trying to provide value, then what's going to happen is it's going to come back and people are going to start hiring you, even if you're not trying to. There are very, very few calls to action that I have in my marketing anywhere that says, hey, if you want me to handle your law firm's marketing, contact me. But I'm contacted multiple times a day, and people fill out applications to work with me. And the reason why is just because of the fact that I provide so much help out there. Like everything I do, I just try to think about I want to make sure that every video I do, somebody can walk away with something. It has some sort of action step that you can actually watch this video and then you can do something that will improve your law firm, whether you hire me or not. And it comes back. I'm telling you, it comes back. And that's one of the biggest takeaways also, is that, if you can pivot in the way that you present yourself and just trying to help people, that will help you a lot too. That'll help you, even if you do it selfishly, help other people so you can selfishly help yourself. It works. Trust me.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not calling your current clients, even past clients right now, just calling and saying, hey, how are you doing? This is super crazy. I never thought we'd live through a pandemic before, or that the whole world would shut down. Like, are you okay? One, that's just a good, nice thing to do. You should do that. And they will appreciate it. And maybe it won't result in an immediate thing that they need your help with, but it also could be great information about actually I am struggling right now. Turns out I need unemployment help. I need my unemployment claim was denied. Do you have a place where I can, whatever it is, you never know what they're going to say, but it's going to give you valuable information about how people are struggling, and they're going to remember it in the long run. They're just going to connect with you because you were there and you reached out and you helped.
And you know what's going to happen is you're going to get the, oh, I've been meaning to call you. Those
I
people.
love
Like,
those.
oh, you know, my sister-in-law got arrested the other day, and you know, or my brother-in-law was in a car accident, or you know, my next door neighbor had, you know, I don't know what he did, but something happened where he's a lawyer. And I've been meaning to give him your information. If you do that, I promise you that'll happen. You know, you can typically pick up a couple cases if you do that. The other thing you do is you can get testimonials that way. Like, and honestly, like, you know, what'll happen is even if they don't do anything for you right now, it'll almost like refresh you in their mind. So that if something does happen in the next couple months, then you're going to be top of mind for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of value in that. Just going through my notes here to make sure that I'm covering everything I want. Everything I promised I would talk about last time. I didn't cover everything that I meant to talk about, and some people emailed me about it. So do we have any questions that are coming in, Chase, that maybe we can get to? Actually, yeah. Somebody put in the comments. You can have everything in life you want if you just help other people get what they want. Yeah, that is actually the actual quote that made me start doing what I do, because it's 100% true. If you help enough people get everything that they want, then you know you'll get everything you want, and it's a really good way to. I think it's a good way to live, not even just business. I mean, even with my kids, you know, if I understand that my kids want certain things. Obviously, I don't give them candy all the time, but it's like, you know, it even goes back to the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you really think about, you know, what is it that other people want, and how do you deliver on what they want, then typically if you can do that, then it'll come back to you. And now it's obviously getting into a lot of philosophical stuff, but that's a really great quote. You can have everything in life you want if you just help other people get what they want.
Yeah, so true. No, we do have questions coming in, and one of the questions was from Simi Sola. Sorry if I got your name wrong there, but she said, where do you suggest I start in terms of reaching out to potential clients? Publish ebooks on social media, conduct free or paid webinars? Wondering if it's something she can do all at once, or if there's a strategy to do them one at a time.
Do you want to take this one first, or you want me to?
I'm sure we both have a lot to say about it. I do think you should have a strategy, but yeah, what I'm curious to hear how you'd answer it, because I'm not sure how we differ.
Okay, gotcha. So what I would try to do if we're talking about, now obviously it depends on how much information. If it's potential clients, if you have their email address, I'm a huge fan of email, because email is traffic that you own. And there's three types of traffic. There is traffic that you control, traffic that you don't control, and traffic that you own. So an example of traffic that you control is Facebook ads or social media or Google ads or different things like that. And basically what it comes down to is that it's traffic you can turn on and turn off. If you pay Facebook, Facebook will bring traffic to your website or traffic to your page. If you pay Google, then you know you pay them enough money when someone searches criminal defense lawyer, you'll show up at the top and they'll click on, but the thing is that you go away. If you turn that off, the traffic goes away. So that's traffic that you control. Traffic you don't control is traffic like referral sources, things like that. SEO to an extent, because Google's always doing a lot of weird things. But then there's traffic that you own. Traffic that you own is when you have somebody's email address and their phone number. Because when you have their email address or their phone number, you can contact them over and over and over again, and it does not cost you anything. So my single goal in marketing, in everything I do, is to get your email address. Because once I have your email address, you're on my email list, and then I can send out emails and I can do all that stuff, and it's completely free. So that's the number one thing. The number one thing that I try to do is I try to get their email address. And then from there, what I'll do is I'll start providing those value videos so for me, I do video, but you don't have to do video. I think video is the easiest, because I can film a video. It takes me 5 minutes, and then I send it off to my team, and it goes to YouTube, it goes to Facebook, it gets turned into a blog post. It goes everywhere, you know? And then ideally you'll start with those videos that are answering the objections. So you get their email address, and then you get them in an email drip sequence, and you just start answering their objections. And that's truthfully the simplest way that I would do it. That's actually the strategy that I teach at lawyermasterclass.com. And what I actually teach is I teach you to run a Facebook ad to some sort of piece of bait. And the bait is typically an ebook or a video that's maybe behind an email gate or something like that. But it's usually some sort of download, like a cheat sheet or an ebook or something. And that's how I do it. That's how I've built 2 7-figure businesses, is just getting the email address.
Yeah, and we do something very similar. And in terms of strategy, we're just always teaching people, like, what is the message? What's the message that's going to resonate? So you're talking a lot about objections, and that's an easy one. You know, what's a piece of information that would be really helpful to them, because you're trying to build that relationship with them and get that email address so that you can then follow up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the email address is critical. And everybody sees me with my Facebook ads. But the problem is that Facebook, I don't own that traffic. Mark Zuckerberg owns that traffic. And on many times they have shut down my Facebook account for no reason whatsoever. And I've gotten it back. But when that's down, I have no reach. So if I didn't have my email list, I would be dead in the water. And the other thing is that, let's say Facebook is going to be, let's say Facebook is going to be, I mean, there's a lot of privacy stuff right now. I mean, Facebook, it might not even be that they shut you down. It might be that Facebook gets shut down. Like, what happens if the government decides that it's a monopoly and they break it up, or whatever it is? There's so many things that are in your control, but if you have that email list, you always have control. And then you can email and say, hey, everybody, follow me on TikTok, or follow me on, Snapchat, or whatever the next one is.
Yeah. And how many ads right now are getting shut down because Facebook thinks they're dating ads? We're like, we have nothing to do with dating, Facebook. I don't know. They have some weird algorithm going on right now.
Yeah, I get employment ads I get employment. Actually, I get my ads. I get flagged for profanity a lot, which doesn't make any sense because I don't have any profanity in there. But it's what I get flagged for. It's all AI. That's the problem.
And I know I've seen some things in the chat. People are worried about being spammy or sending too many emails. And I always tell my lawyers, like, you guys are always so worried about that I don't really worry about it for you, because lawyers tend to go way on one side of the world where you want to send one email and be done, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, look, you can have an email sequence. You can send out more than one. You're never going to get to that point where you're that company that's sending one an hour or whatever it is, right? That you're worried about being. You've got a good metric. So trust yourself in your voice that you can push yourself a little bit here and do some follow-up.
The other thing to think about is you have to think about what you're sending people, right? So, like, if I were to send you every day an email, let's say every single day I was going to send you an email with that day's winning lottery numbers, you probably wouldn't have a problem with me emailing you every day. So if it's valuable, people will be less annoyed that you're emailing them every day. I mean, I email every single day. And that's why it's so important that your stuff is valuable. And every once in a while I get pushback saying, stop emailing me. But honestly, those aren't my customers anyway. It's fine. A lot of times what I like about that is it's people raising their hand, letting you know that it's someone that you should remove from the list, but the vast majority of people that follow me open. I mean, it's pretty crazy how high my open rates are consistently. And as long as you're providing value, like if you're providing a sales pitch every single day, if every single one of your emails is, are you going through a divorce? Call us today for a free consult. Like, yeah, that's going to annoy the crap out of people. But if you're actually solving problems and giving people really good advice and really good information, then I don't think it's a problem. And what I've experienced is that it's not a problem.
Yeah, agreed. We try to give value in all of our emails, and a couple, every once in a while, it'll be more of just an invite, like come to this webinar that I'm doing. And then hopefully we give value in the webinar. Yeah. But yeah, most of our emails are just teaching and just giving things away.
And here's the other cool part about contacting daily. Let me ask you in the comments, the people that follow me and know who I am, who here feels like you know me? Like you've, we've never met before, but does anyone actually in the comments feel like you know me, even though you never actually met me before? Let me know in the comments. So I did this. Yes, there's a lot of people. Sure, me, sure, getting there. Yes, kinda. I feel I have an idea about who you are and what you're about. Yes, I've attended many of your webinars, 100%. So, oh yes, and this is my first experience or first exposure. There we go. So I did this. I spoke actually I had a live event in October, and I had never met any of the attorneys that were there. I think it was like 45 attorneys. And I was trying to prove a point. I was like, if you create content and help people and get people to watch your stuff every single day, I was like, show hands. How many people have never met me before, but you feel like you've known me your entire life? And every single person raised their hand. And it just goes to show you that when you create that much content, you help that many people will start to feel like they really know you. And when that happens, it's like, who are you going to hire? Are you going to hire the attorney that if somebody needs an attorney, are they going to hire the attorney that they don't know? Or are they going to hire the attorney that they feel comfortable with and they trust and that that they've been following, getting all this great information from? That's the other really cool part about this, is that if you do this, then everyone, and I'm not saying be, authentic. I mean, hopefully you are authentic and everything. And I try to be, I'm the same off camera as I'm on camera. But if I was just a faceless marketer, no one would know me. No one would ever feel like they know me, and people wouldn't trust me. So there's a lot of benefit to following up and making people making sure that people see you on a constant basis.
Yeah. I met someone at a conference and they ran up. They're like, wait, you're Stephanie Everett? Oh, I love your emails. It sounds like you actually write them. And I was like, thanks. I actually do. Typos, bad grammar, but it's always fun when you meet someone and you already have a connection, even in this weird world, because they feel like they know you. And if you're in our community, then it's easy for me to feel like I know them too, because I probably know what kind of lawyer they are. And so then, and I have developed really great friendships. I mean, I'm super excited, like looking at the participant list here, I see some friends on here, and these are folks that I've only maybe seen in person once or a couple of times in my life. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's really cool, especially when you're at conferences and people come up to you and, it's really crazy because I'm like, oh wow, people actually do watch my stuff. It's pretty neat. So Chase, what's the next question that we have?
Awesome. So yeah, Bruce had a question. He said that he's really struggling with pricing criminal cases right now. He's tempted to drop prices and try to do more volume, but he's not sure. Can you give some tips on whether to tier representation packages or stick with one level of service and go with that?
Yeah. My advice is never, ever drop your price. Add your value. Just increase value however you can do it. Like I was saying, I mean, figure out what services can you add that are going to increase the value. So if you're a criminal defense attorney, you can do the payment issue. You can do the payment plans. I mean, PayPal credit is really good. And what's nice about PayPal credit is that you get paid right away. So it's not like they're not going to pay you for 6 months. Cause I know that a big issue is payment plans, especially, talked to a lot of criminal defense attorneys that get into payment plans with clients, and it just turns into a nightmare, because now you're chasing clients for $100 a month and you've done all the work, and it's not a good situation. Randall said dropping prices shows very low value. Do not drop your prices, increase your value, do whatever you have to do. I mean, you can do like the free expungement. I mean, that's something that's like 6 years down the line, or at least the client that we're working with right now in New Jersey, expungements are like 6 years down the line. So you can offer like a free expungement. You can offer, Voxer is a great option. But do not lower your prices. What you should do is you should increase your value. That's the best thing to do. And just be creative. Be creative about about what you can do. And if you want some additional offers, I was actually thinking about putting out some sort of like an offer training where basically law firms give me the practice area, and I'll just come up with like a really cool offer for each one. So if a criminal defense attorney, if you want to be the guinea pig for that, send me an email and I'll help you out with creating an offer, and then I'll record a video on it, and we'll put it on my YouTube channel.
Awesome. So since you just mentioned Voxer about adding value, what's the difference between giving someone a Voxer and giving the client your cell phone number?
Let me show you. Hold on. Let me see. Can you see my phone here? Here's Voxer. Now it's closed. So that's the difference. The difference is that your cell phone number is your cell phone number. They can call you at any time. Voxer is really cool because it's an app where like you can where basically you can close it at any time. So you can check your Voxers while you're driving. You can check your Voxers, whenever, but you don't have to have it open all the time. Whereas if they have your cell phone number, now they're going to call you all hours of the night. They're going to text you all the time. Voxer gives you that access where you can say, look, it shows up right on my phone, but it's not as intrusive. And it's also more convenient. They don't have to email, it's more convenient than emailing, and they can actually hear your voice. So it just gives it a much more personalized touch.
Awesome. And then Sarah asked, do you think flat rate, even with something contested or like a contested divorce or custody case, is better than per hour?
What's your thought on that?
So I hate the billable hour. It sucked a little bit of my soul every time I build an hour, and I've built a lot of hours in my life. So I'm a big fan of getting rid of the billable hour. When you start thinking about your business and building a business, the billable hour also works against you. What's your incentive to be more efficient? It's very hard to drive your profitability in the billable hour unless you raise your rate or build more hours. That's all you've got. But with alternative pricing, you get a lot more flexibility because now you can do things on the back end of your business to drive value, and so deliver a great client experience. But also now you can use technology, you can create systems, you can build efficiencies that allow you to deliver a great service in less time, and you financially benefit from that. So I see, and I have family law lawyers. I work with family law lawyers who do contested divorces and do not bill by the hour. So there's lots of different models that you can use, because a lot of people are going to say, I know what your objection's going to be, right? Here's where those objections come in. I could never do that. I could never guess what's going to happen. I can't predict all the craziness of a case or discovery, or what if they subpoena 25 people and I've said this price. And I'm like, guys, you're not going to price that way. Like, it's more complicated for sure, and you have to be more thoughtful, but there's abilities in how you scope your work to match how you price your services. And then you can build in ways that you can build in for those contingencies, change orders, or add additional services throughout the case. So there's all kinds of ways to approach it. But my short answer is I hate the billable hour. And so I love to work with attorneys to find different ways to price their services.
Yeah, you nailed it in that there's no incentive. There's no incentive to be efficient. I used to work as a line cook at Carrabba's when I was in college, like 15 years ago, or how long? It was like 15 years ago. And I remember thinking at the end of the night, if I work my butt off and I get out of here an hour early, I'm actually getting paid less to work harder. It doesn't make any sense, because I get paid by the hour. So if I stretch this thing out for another, 45 minutes or whatever, another hour, I made an extra $10, I mean, it doesn't mean I didn't want to get out of there, but that was just, I always thought about that. I'm like, it doesn't make sense for me to work harder. And I think there's a lot of people like that. And now as I've grown in business, what I've found is that my time is way more valuable to me. My time is my biggest asset. So I will never get into a situation where I'm trading time for money, because for me, my time is much more valuable than money. I will actually I'll pay a lot of times I'll pay money to save time. That's why I don't clean my house. I hire somebody to do that, because I'd rather pay, somebody $20 an hour to clean my house, because it makes more sense for me to do that than me spending 2 or 3 hours cleaning the house. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of lawyers that are definitely interested in the flat rate. There's an attorney, her name's Brita Long, and she has a course where she teaches lawyers how to switch over to flat rate. And everyone I talk to that's gone through that course says it's really good. She's actually a coaching student of mine. I've never taken the course. I'm not getting any money from saying that. But everyone I've talked to really recommends that course. So if you're interested in switching over to to flat rate, that might be a good resource.
Yeah. And I'll throw out, we've done a bunch of podcast episodes on this. We've talked about, how to switch your billing model, your pricing model. And I'm trying to pull up the exact podcast episodes. I can get those for you. This is something we teach inside our lab course as well, but I know we have a ton of resources on it on our site. I'm just trying to get to it. I mean, I do entire webinars on just that, right? It's a pretty big topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. John just asked, have you seen flat rate or flat fee work with transactional work like corporate purchases, sales, leases, anything like that?
Yep. I've got an attorney that absolutely does that for his transactions. He kind of scopes it out. So he looks at what he thinks the transaction will involve on the front end. And then there's always some tiers to that too, because he realized for him, he has different kind of service models where he offers premier, if you pay some premier prices. I saw in the comments go by that one person was worried he couldn't give great quality if he changed his pricing model. And I just would really disagree with that. But also this one attorney that does business transactions, if you're in his highest level service offering, you get really crazy value adds, you do get his cell phone number at night because you're paying a higher price for it, right? So don't think that flat fee means you don't deliver. You still want quality services. You're still going to give your best. You just get to take advantage of some efficiencies that you wouldn't have in the billable hour. I mean, for the folks who are what's your incentive? Someone said, what's my incentive to do great work on the billable, I just said it wrong. But my point is, when you're billing by the hour, what's your incentive to work efficiently? You don't really have one. You have your team has an incentive to work slow, and that doesn't seem very smart. And that's actually not what your clients are hiring you for. When I hire a lawyer, which I've had to do numerous times, I'm not paying them for how many minutes it takes them to prepare affidavits. I'm paying them for a result. And so you just have to completely switch what you think about what it is you're offering and then how you offer it.
Exactly. And you can actually take that and bill it in as part of your offer. If we were talking about the offer before, you can make it and you could say, look, the reality is that I do this on a flat rate. So it's in my best interest to get this done as quickly as possible. And you can even make the fact that you're more expensive, that you're more expensive as an offer, which is cool. I do this. I don't know how many people were on my webinar that I did 2 weeks ago where I sold the Review Judge software. But after I gave the price, or actually maybe before that I gave the price, I can't remember what it was. But what I did is I price framed. And the way that I did it is I said, when we were pricing this thing out, we had two options. Our first option was to go as cheap as possible and sell as many as we could. But the problem is that wouldn't really incentivize me to go deep and give you a ton of value. So what we decided to do is we actually decided to charge a little bit more. It requires a little bit higher investment on your part, but that will allow me to be able to actually have the time to dedicate the resources that are necessary to guarantee your success. So it's like, if you flip it that way, and you explain it that way, then people all of a sudden are like, oh, wait a second, I don't want you to sell this as cheap as possible. I want you to sell it for a little bit more so that I get more out of it, so that I can, so there's definitely a way that you can flip it and actually make the flat fee and even a higher price at the flat fee, make that part of your offer and make it more desirable to where people actually want you to charge them more, because you can demonstrate that you can provide a better service and a better quality product, because you're not taking every single case, because you're focusing on 10 cases instead of 100 cases.
No, that's a great point. Jen had put in that, it's incentive for her to delegate some of the service activities to staff who have more time, cost less, and love the interaction with clients. So
yeah,
good thing there. So a couple questions we had were about people who missed the how to get clients to pay even when they say they have no money. Maybe you could just go over that again real quickly about options for that.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things, this is one of the biggest things that you have to always remember when people say that they don't have any money. There's a couple things you got to understand. First of all, is that nobody wants to spend money. No, most of the time when people come to a lawyer, it's an emergency situation. In a lot of cases, they got arrested, or they were, they were served with divorce papers, or they just found out their spouse was cheating, or whatever the situation is. A lot of times it's not really good news, and a lot of times it's unexpected. So now you're going to hit them with a $5,000 or $3,000 bill or whatever it is, and they're just, or maybe even more than that, depending on the circumstances. So nobody wants to part with their money, right? So everybody's going to tell you they don't have money. Everybody's going to tell you they don't want to spend, they can't afford it. But the reality is that what you have to do is you have to remember that, first of all, if they don't have money, the reason that they don't have money is because they're not very good with money. And what you need to do is you need to convince them that, and you need to demonstrate to them that if they want to have money in the future, they need to find the money to find a lawyer right now. So for example, let's say somebody got a DUI and they're looking at losing their driver's license, and let's say, okay, so it's $3,000 to represent you in this DUI, and I understand that's a lot of money, but listen, you don't have money right now, but how do you plan to have money in the future if you get convicted of this DUI, you lose your license? Now you have to, every time so you lose your license, you can't get to work. You're going to lose your job because you can't get to work. And then every time you go to get a new job, you've got to check the box. I was convicted of a crime. I've been arrested, all those types of things. So if you want to have money in the future, you've got to figure out a way to get money now. And you also have to remember that people can find money. In a lot of scenarios, people can find money if the pain is big enough. So they've got credit cards, they've got pre-approved credit card offers, they've got access to loans, they've got access to family members with money. So the problem is, a lot of times, is you're not causing the pain, or you're not agitating the pain enough. So a perfect example, this is one of my favorite stories. We had a client who did nursing license defense. So he charged $4,000 for each case, and basically it was nurses that were about to have their nursing licenses revoked by the medical board, I guess, or the nursing board, whoever it is. And we helped him with his sales presentation, and what we found is that on average, you lose $400,000 over the course of your career if you lose your nursing license, because you're not a nurse anymore. So you're going to have to take a lower paying job. Because you lost your license, you're not going to be able to get another professional license. And because you don't have the average person without a professional license earns significantly less than someone with a professional license. So we framed it as, look, yes, this is $4,000. I understand it's a lot of money right now, but on average, a nurse that loses her license over the course of her career is going to lose $400,000. So if you want to continue to have money in the future and you don't want to lose all that money, you've got to figure out a way to find the money now. And that type of framing, when you really kind of price frame it like that, we say you're going to lose 400 if you don't pay 4. Now all of a sudden 4,000 is not that big of a, it's not that much money anymore. So I highly recommend that lawyers take sales classes. I actually have a training that I did that I'll give away for free. Chase, do we have that on a page, the sales video that I did?
Yeah, we do. Let me get the link.
Okay. So I've got some sales training with a script also that we use that really any lawyer can use. And it's like a 25-minute video where I show the script. You can download the script for free and actually walk you through how to use it. And it will absolutely change your business in terms of learning how to sell. So that's a big thing, is price framing. The other thing is offering financing options. Like I said, I've got a company called Ease Consulting that I work with. Send me an email and I'll give you a referral to the owner. And then also PayPal credit. PayPal credit is huge. If you can get people to do PayPal credit, that gives them 6 months no interest. Because a lot of times people say, "Oh, you don't have the money." We'll say, "Well, what if I gave you 6 months no? What if you could get started now, but you don't have to make a payment or anything for 6 months, and you don't have to, no interest, anything like that." Most people will take that deal. And also you get paid right away. So you don't have to, and I don't have a relationship with PayPal. I'm just telling you what I use. But you get paid right away. So you don't have to chase them down for payment plans. Like, payment plans are the worst. So that's kind of what the thinking is. You have to convince them, you have to price frame them and make them understand that if they want money in the future, they've got to find money now.
Yeah, definitely. And the link for that is lawyermasterclass.com/sales.
Yeah. So all you have to do is go there, and you can, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's basically, it's a 25-minute video that I did where I walk you through a sales script that I have. And you can actually download the script also.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, just to circle back, John had asked a question about the hourly rates. He said he's had divorces, that pay $60,000 to $80,000 because they were looking for a high level of service. He doesn't think they would pay that up front. do you think that higher level services should go flat rate, or is that just specific to a certain type?
I think they can. I don't think you have to get it up front. So flat doesn't mean that you have to say, pay me $60,000 before we start your divorce. I found one of the episodes is our podcast, episode 177, and where we talked about someone who's using flat rates for divorces, and the way they price it, which is different. And I like, for a couple reasons, is they're like, look, the first phase of your case is going to be pleadings. And we know about how much activity that's going to take. And so the price for that's going to be $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month, whatever you need to price it at. I don't know. And then when we enter the discovery phase, it's more work. And so then it's going to be, $7,000 a month. And then if we hit trial, it's going to be 2 months of $15,000. I'm just making up numbers here to give you an example. And so it's still a flat rate. It looks a little bit more like a subscription if you think about it in terms of like the price is going to be dependent on how long the case goes on. One of the things I like about that, especially for divorces, and you need to think of through your pricing for any case, divorces especially though, if somebody has paid you whatever, $15,000, that's how you priced it. Pay me 15 up front and I'm in this for the life of the case. We know that emotions take over, and sometimes clients, they're going to fight tooth and nail for the toaster, and you're going to be 24 months into this case still fighting over a toaster. Unfortunately, sometimes our fees give people an incentive to be reasonable and settle, right? Like, I'm a lawyer. We've all done this before. We've told the client, you don't want to pay me to go fight over this. This is silly and you need to get to a resolution. And so sometimes, especially like in a family law case, unfortunately, like having that as an incentive to frame the client's decisions makes sense. And so in all of your fee discussions, you might think about that. Like, you're paying me $7,500 a month and everything is resolved but the toaster or the whatever it is. It's probably something more emotional than a toaster, but people dig in over really weird things, as I understand it. And so I like that part of it, kind of just thinking through all scenarios.
You know what else is interesting is that there's no strategic advantage of being the second lowest price, but there is a strategic advantage of being the lowest price or the highest price. And I don't really recommend you be the lowest price, but I mean, if you're, because it's hard to compete with the $99 divorces, which it's a paralegal or one of those paralegal services, but a lot of people don't realize that. And I mean, if someone's doing $99 divorce, you don't want any part of that. But there's definitely an advantage to being the highest price, because you got to remember, most of the time when people buy anything, it's because of status. It's either status increase or status decrease. Why do people buy Ferrari? Because, I'm increasing my status because I now drive a Ferrari. There's other people that will buy a Prius instead of a Ferrari because it increases their status, because in their mind, they feel like they're much more responsible and saving the environment, all type of stuff. But everything everyone does is through status, is for status. So a lot of times hiring the most expensive divorce lawyer, like how many times have you seen in movies where there's that divorce lawyer that like this guy's he's the shark, you know what I mean? Like he's the go-to divorce lawyer and like, oh my God, they hired that lawyer. Oh man, you're screwed. Like there's people that, and I know that's probably not how it happens in real life, but there's people that watch movies and think that that's how it is in real life, and there's definitely an advantage to, if you choose to take that route, being the highest price. And what that means is that you're going to have fewer clients, but you're going to be able to serve those clients at a much, much higher level. And what's cool about that, if you want to take that route, is that, it's less clients. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to. And then the way you get those clients is you have to figure out, like, who's the type of person that's going to hire, the $100,000 divorce lawyer and stuff like that. And then what are the problems that are unique to those types of people? Somebody that is going to drop $60,000, $80,000 on a divorce lawyer has just a different lifestyle than somebody who's going for that $99 divorce. So your messaging should be tailored to what are the problems that those types of people are going to have? I mean, a lot of lawyers, they want the high net worth divorces, all that type of stuff. But what they don't do is they don't think about what are the problems that are unique to high net worth divorces, and how do they, and creating content that addresses just those types of things. Because somebody that makes $50,000 a year is not going to have the same types of problems that somebody that's going through a high net worth divorce is going to have. They're just not. You're not going to be hiring the forensic accountants and figuring out who gets the vacation home. Like it's different problems. So when you can answer and address those problems, then you can start attracting those higher value clients. And then by making yourself the most expensive attorney, there's a strategic advantage of that if you want to take advantage of that status increase that people want.
Yeah. But here's one piece just to be thinking about too, guys, because I'm sure most of us probably aren't in the $99 divorces, and maybe we're not quite up to the 60 or 80 yet too.
That's an exaggeration, but yeah.
Yeah. But so here's where you are. And so this is what I hear a lot of attorneys do is they'll, in the consultation or whatever you call your sales, meeting, you'll say, so I charge $350 an hour. I'm going to need a $5,000 or $10,000 retainer up front, whatever it is. Are you good to go? Good, sign, done. And there's no discussion of the larger sense of what the client is buying. And so the client doesn't know if they just bought a Ferrari or the Prius or the, Honda, because they've left it all to you. And you're having no conversations with your clients about what this costs, what this case is going to cost them, how much they can afford, what path you want to take. And so, I appreciate everything we're saying about don't drop your price and add value. But at the same time, you got to be willing to talk about money. Because I think that too often we're scared as lawyers to talk about money. And so we really have no sense what our clients can afford. Maybe they can easily stroke you a $5,000 or $10,000 retainer check, so they're not looking for PayPal credit. But then in 6 months, when you're hitting them every month with $4,000 bills, they're like, whoa, where is this coming from? I thought I paid you $10,000. That's what because that's in their mind what this was going to cost. And so I think you do yourself a service by having some hard conversations on the front end, and it gives you some power to create a plan that works for you and your client, because there are moves you can make and there's education there. Hey, we could go get a temporary hearing, but know that if we do that, that's going to immediately add $7,500 to the bill. And then they might say, well, maybe a temporary isn't so important, or whatever it is. So
yeah, find out if the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah, that's my little soapbox for the afternoon.
No, we're getting all kinds of comments about trials that almost happened because of spice racks. We've got, let's see, the dog, a motorcycle that they spent twice so much amount fighting the case on. So definitely some interesting things. Yeah, Andy, circling back, Randall asked a question. How would you tactfully and professionally frame the PayPal funding option?
Well, what I would do is I would do it exactly how we do it. So you say, now this obviously goes much deeper into the sales training. And when you watch that video that I put out, you'll see how to do it. But basically the gist is, and anyone that knows sales about this, anyone that knows sales is you say the price and you don't say anything, so like, yeah, we can represent you in this divorce. We'd love to help in. It'll be one payment of $5,000, and then typically you don't talk and you let them talk first and everything and all that good stuff. And then they're going to say, geez, I really don't have that kind of money. Do you have any cheaper options, or do you have any payment plans or anything? And what you could say is, well, I'll tell you what, how would you be interested in an option? And you don't say PayPal credit. You just say, would you be interested in an option where we could give you no interest and no payments for 6 months, basically 6 months, same as cash. And typically they're going to be like, yeah, that would be awesome. They're, okay, cool. So we have a relationship with PayPal credit. And what that allows us to do is basically we'll get you set up. There's a short application you fill out. And you can do it right now. I mean, I can send you the link on your phone and you can go through, you can answer the questions, and we'll get you approved, and then we get you signed up right now, and you don't have to make your first payment for 6 months. Or if you pay it off before 6 months, then it's same as cash. And that's how I do it. I don't think there's a big issue with it. Most people have PayPal accounts. But I don't lead with, well, do you have PayPal credit? I lead with the, what about 6 months, no interest, no payments?
Got it. We also had one in here that I had to mention this: 2 hours of extra mediation because they couldn't agree whether the $25 Walmart garden hose was gift or marital property. So there you go.
Probably cheaper for the attorney just to buy another garden hose.
Yeah, David had asked one earlier. He was saying that, you had come up with formulating responses to objections to add value and really set yourself apart with your offer. Yep. But he said sometimes his are kind of generic, like you'll get personal attention or be careful to get proper documentation. So I guess how do you provide or make those things that seem kind of normal more valuable?
Well, okay, so personalized attention, like, see, here's the problem is that what you want to do is you want something that they're not going to get anywhere else. So personalized attention, I do marketing for 70 law firms, and I would say that almost every one of them says that you'll get personalized attention. So there's nothing new there. What's new is Voxer, and I keep saying Voxer. I'm not saying Voxer is the end all be all, but that's an example of how, that really is personalized attention, because now you're going to get, not only am I going to say you're going to get personalized attention, but I'm actually going to put an app on your phone that connects directly to my phone. And anytime you have a question, just talk and it shows up on my phone, So I think that it's kind of like, what is kind of a tangible thing that can be more than just talk, like saying, oh, we care and we have, we care about you and we have personal attention. Like, what can you actually do to prove that you're going to get that personal attention? And something like Voxer, or like, what I was saying before with the personal injury attorney, we created the healthcare concierge position, where this is actually, he would actually walk them into their office and say, look, this is, I don't remember her name, whoever, this is our healthcare concierge, and she's going to sit down and she's going to book all your doctor's appointments with you. And the other cool thing is that we have special payment arrangements that we make to make sure that all these doctors they get paid after the case is over. So you don't have to come out of pocket right now, because I know you don't have any money right now for, the insurance company isn't paying your medical bills and you're not working, you don't have any money. So basically these doctors, we have agreements with these doctors where they don't get paid until the case is over. So if we lose or whatever, you don't have to pay them back. And we're going to sit down, we're going to book all these appointments for you. And anytime you need an appointment, just call Brenda and she'll handle it for you. I don't know why I said Brenda, but, so it's like trying to figure out. Yeah, exactly. It's all about being as creative as possible. Yeah, I mean, it's just being really creative.
Awesome. Lisa asked, she's a bankruptcy lawyer. She kind of operates under restrictions where she can't tell clients to incur debt in anticipation of filing bankruptcy. Her fees are higher than lawyers in her area, but she has more experience. How can she use that effectively with potential clients for higher costs but more experience?
How can she use higher fees?
Right.
Well, I guess, is she like a premium service, or is it like how much are we talking here? Like what's the market, and what is her fee?
That's a good question, Lisa, if you can chime in on that. But she just said that her fees are higher than lawyers in her area, but she has more years of experience.
Okay. Is her experience the only thing that she's basing that on? I wonder.
That's what I have in the question
here. Yeah. Well, again, you got to figure out what are some of the values. Honestly, one of the easiest ways to charge more money is to pre-frame it in the beginning by creating content and solving problems and making people like and trust you, like, know and trust you. If people know who you are, and for example, like if you actually created all the content and helped people solve problems and got to the point where they trusted you and they know you and they know that you have a messy jersey behind you in all of your videos, all that type of stuff, then you can command a higher price, because people don't want to hire any bankruptcy attorney. They want to hire you because you're the one that gave them all the really good advice. That's probably the easiest way to do it. And then on top of that, and then if you can make a really good offer on top of that, then it's kind of like game over. And not only that, but then if you can figure out some sort of creative way for financing, it's challenging with bankruptcy, because bankruptcy, a lot of times they don't have the credit to get some of these funding options, which is challenging. Even PayPal credit. So there's a little bit of a challenge there, but that's kind of my thought. Is a lot of it is done in the pre-framing. So Leonard, I was gonna say, Leonard said bankruptcy fees are regulated by what the court and trustee in a jurisdiction will accept. She can speak to me and I will explain it.
Cool.
It's a good point. If it's regulated, it's a little challenging, but then you throw in the intangibles.
Yeah, and we had another question about videos. I'm assuming this is for marketing. Which do you recommend, pre-recorded videos or live videos like webinars and Facebook Lives?
What do you prefer?
I mean, we use both. And if you do live, the beauty is you record it and then you can repurpose it. So I guess I don't know if there's an answer. I don't know if you would answer based on where you're going to put it, but.
Yeah, I prefer live videos. I don't always practice what I preach, but I prefer doing live. And there's a simple reason for that. When it's live, I can't stop it and do it again. And that's a problem that I had. Like I'll do videos. Like I said, I mentioned earlier that I recorded some ads yesterday, and I stopped. I did one ad and I stopped like 3 times and I restarted it. And then I had another ad that I did it again. And I wasted a lot of time because I was doing it over and over again, and I was worried about stuff that just wasn't really that big of a deal. But if I had just done it live, I couldn't redo it. Like this webinar, I can't redo it. You just get through the stumbles and stuff like that, and you keep going. So I'm all about done is better than perfect. That's really my motto. So I would much rather just do it. I don't have the opportunity to redo it because it's live. And then, like you said, you can then download it, and then I can upload it to YouTube and all that stuff. Like this video that this webinar that we're doing right now. We've been on here for 1 hour and 38 minutes. And after this is over, we're going to send out the replay. So actually, people have been asking, there will be a replay sent out. And then what we do with what I do with these videos is I then take all the questions and answers and different segments where we have good points, and I'll chop them up. And now I get 15, 20, 30 videos out of each one of these things that you can, make blog posts out of, you can use on social media, all that type of stuff. So live, I think, is good just because it gets it done, and then you can just reuse it everywhere.
Okay, awesome. And Leonard asked, what's the best way to record the videos as far as software?
Software. Well, I mean, I guess it depends what you're trying to do. I record on my iPhone. That's the best way. And right now, like this, we're using Zoom, just Zoom's cloud recording. What do you use to record videos, Stephanie?
I use my iPhone a lot because the quality really is great. And there is a little bit of an editing feature. So if you can edit out, you push in the button or something, which I like because I'm always, I don't know, weird about that. I've also used, I've used BombBomb and Loom before, which are kind of fun apps. I don't know if anyone's used them, but you can just take your phone and send a personalized video too. So sometimes I'll just send a message like, hey, whoever, it was great talking to you today. Loved connecting, loved hearing about this, hope we can continue the conversation or whatever. And people really respond to that because they can see you and talk to you, and you can use that for client updates. So imagine getting out of a deposition, instead of sending a really long, boring email that your client's never going to watch, you could send them a video and be like, hey, we just got the deposition. It was awesome. We got this great piece of evidence that great admission from their side. There were some sticky points over here. We'll talk about it when we get together, but overall went well. Like you could never explain, that's never going to come across in an email. And I do it, we use them internally. We use videos a lot on our team. So yesterday is our team meeting day, just at Lawyerist. I have a whole bunch of meetings that I do with different teams. So at the end of the day, I just popped out my iPhone and I was like, hey team, want to tell you what's happening in Lawyerist. Want to give a shout out to this team member. She showed this value that we have this week, and that was awesome. And here's what this team's doing, and here's what this team's doing, and make sure, and it was just a quick video. And the team loves it. They're all like, that's amazing. Like, you know, and especially we're remote. We've always been remote. And so it helps us to use video because we're not with each other all the time.
That's actually a really good point also. We've used that to increase show up rates for consultations. So a lot of times, you know, if you're having a problem with people booking meetings and then not showing up, one thing you can do is before the meeting, you can pull out your phone, be like, hey, Mark, I'm really looking forward to our consultation next Thursday at 2:00. If you have any questions, feel free to call the office. When you come, make sure that, you know, you go in and you go upstairs and take the second elevator, and make sure to bring all of your documents with you, or, you know, whatever it is. But if you can like send them a personalized video, it only takes like maybe 5 minutes, and actually not even 5 minutes. It's way faster than that. But it makes a big difference. It's that personalized touch that, like, when we started doing that for our stuff, we saw our show up rates go from, I mean, like they doubled. It was crazy. So that's a really good hack also, is that if you can do that, then and also it sets the precedent that you have a more hands-on, more approachable, more personalized touch to the firm also. I think that goes a long way too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kate had asked earlier about the, you know, credit and payment options. Is it ethical for attorneys to extend credit or work with lenders to fund their retainer fees?
I think I would imagine that it's you're gonna have to talk to the state bar about it, but I mean, I can't imagine why not. I mean, I don't know how it's different than them using a credit card. Like, you're not actually funding it. It's really no different than if they were to put the payments on a credit card, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. And David asks, as far as getting email addresses, do you have any insight for getting larger business corporate clients, like identifying the decision maker and how to get their email address to get past the gatekeeper?
Yeah. What I do is I figure out, this is going to sound like a generic answer, but this is what I do for everything, is I figure out what are the problems that are unique to them, and what are the issues that they have, and how do I solve those problems. And like, so Facebook is like the gift to the world. It's crazy how well you can target people on Facebook. So we had a client that I was doing some targeting for recently, who he was trying to reach car dealers that go to auctions, and he's trying to reach So he's trying to reach the actual person that goes to the auction from the car dealership. So it's like one very specific role, right? I don't even know what the title is. So basically, what we did is we created a video. Or we created a cheat sheet, and we created a video that was pretty wide. It was basically anyone that would work at a car dealership. But we called out these very specific problems, and I can't remember what the problems were. It was a couple of years ago we did this. And it was something like, you know, when you go to the auctions, don't you hate when you get underbid by people that are just are overbid by people that are just bidding to get you out, and they know they're actually not even going to buy the car. They're just trying to bid, or what. I can't remember exactly what the issue was, but it was a very specific problem. So we ran the ads to a very wide audience, and then we created a custom audience of people that actually downloaded the cheat sheet. And what we found, and, you know, because obviously the only people that are interested in this are the people that go to the car auctions and have this very specific problem. So then once we had 100 downloads, then we went to Facebook and we created what's called a lookalike audience. And basically what that is Facebook goes out and says, okay, here's a list of people that completed a certain action. What do they all have in common? And what can we do? And we're going to go find more people that are like them. And then what you do is you show the ad to the people that are like the people that downloaded it. And what ends up happening is you start with this wide audience, and it starts shrinking and starts shrinking and starts shrinking until you've got this really tight segment, and Facebook is really dialed in on who it is that you're actually trying to target. And then once again, it's like everything else. You know, if you just advertise yourself, it's not going to work. But if you advertise the problem that they have, and here's the problem you have, and here's the solution, then you're going to get people raising their hand and giving their email address and then opting in. It's just as simple as that.
Awesome. Lisa just followed up. We had talked about her bankruptcy practice before. She said she's about $300 to $400 more than her competitors. She practices in a rural area. So Chapter 13s are regulated. Okay. So just following up there. Also, someone asked, you mentioned earlier you've been banned by Facebook due to wonky algorithms. I had this happen to me recently. What do you do to get back in its good graces? And you know, you're not experienced.
What was the question?
So this person's been banned from Facebook due to some algorithms. What's the best way to get back in their good graces?
There's a couple ways you can do it. I mean, really, this is not an easy way. Facebook does not make it easy. If you have a rep, that's a good way to do it. Not everyone has a rep, but like usually you can appeal it and you can request a review of your ad account, and typically they will respond and they'll review it, and they'll either, I mean, like I had this happen at the beginning of this month where my entire Facebook ads account got shut down for like, I don't know, it was like 2 or 3 days, and I appealed it, and they reinstated it. They basically said it was wrongly turned off, because it is all the first time they shut it down, it's going to be algorithmic. There's going to be the algorithm's going to go through and think you're doing something wrong, and then they're going to shut you down. And then you ask them to review it, and then a real person's going to look at it and see, oh, he did do this, or no, he didn't do this. So that's the first step, is to appeal it. And then if you have a rep, that would help you. That helps a lot. If those two things don't work, then send me an email and I'll see if I can dig in a little bit more. The other thing is, it's very important to understand why you got shut down, because if they won't tell you, but you need to kind of go through the Facebook blueprint training so that it doesn't happen again. Because like if you get it back, but you just do the same thing that got you shut down in the first place, then you're just going to get shut down again. So that's the big thing, is you got to understand why it was shut down. And actually, when you do your appeal, it's actually really good to, if you can do your appeal and basically say, I understand why I was shut down. I think it was because I used, personal demographic targeting or something. Like, so for example, you can't say, are you going through a divorce? But you can say, anyone going through a divorce needs to know these 5 things, right? So if you keep doing stuff like that, if you say, have you been in a car accident? Do you have a medical malpractice claim, or whatever it is? Then Facebook's probably eventually going to shut you down, just because of the fact you're not allowed to call people out on, like, based on age, gender, sexual preference, health issues, anything like that. You can't say, are you gay? Well, you need an estate plan. You can't do that. And Facebook will shut you down. So you've got to understand why they shut you down. And then typically, if you can put that in so you do the blueprint training. And then if you can actually kind of identify why they shut you down, or why you think they shut you down, and put that in your appeal, that will help, because Facebook will look at it as, okay, well, they're trying to fix the issue. They're trying to not do it again. And I say that will help very loosely, because sometimes Facebook does not care at all, and sometimes they do. So that's my advice. If you still shut down after that, let me know, and I'll help you dig in a little further. And then Chase, I think we got time for one more question. Then I got another meeting at 3:00. I got to hop on.
Yeah. So Henrik asked, given your example of the pre-meeting video you send to clients, do you use that? Do you send that through text message? Do you send to YouTube and then have your link? YouTube, then include the link to the video on your email to the client, or attach it to your email as an attached file, or another app?
What do you say you use? You use BombBomb?
Yeah. So I've used both BombBomb and Loom. Both of those apps allow you to record and send the email, or send an email with the video embedded, or you can send a text message. So it's super easy. I've done other fancier things, but that's the easiest thing. If you're not real tech savvy, or, used to, you can get code and embed it and do all kinds of crazy stuff, but the apps will allow you to do it.
Yeah. Simple is always better. And actually, I think that email's great, but text messaging, like text messages get 100% open rate, and emails get like lower than that, So if you can text message them a video, that's really good too. The problem is that now they have your cell phone number. So if this is a strategy that you're really going to focus on, there's probably, I think there's a text message, is it ZipWhip or something, that you can use for text messaging. You might be able to use it that way. Or you can get like, I don't know if you have another phone you can use that's just like a company phone. Zip Whip. Yeah. And actually with that company phone, you know what you could do? You could have one phone that is also dedicated to Voxer. So you could have like a company iPhone or whatever that just stays in the office, that anytime anybody has a question, they can Vox you guys there. That way it's not even on your personal phone, but they can get in touch with anybody anytime they have a message. And then people just, people are manning that. And then you can also use that phone to send the text message video, the pre-meeting text message video. So,
Awesome.
all right, awesome. Well, Stephanie, thank you for hanging out. It was really cool. It was really cool meeting you. We've never talked before. I've had Sam on my podcast, so that was a fun episode.
Awesome.
But thanks for hanging out with me today, and everybody, thank you for coming on, and thanks for asking all the questions. And we will definitely be sending out a replay of this. And if you guys have more questions that we didn't get to answer, you can email me at andy@socialfirestarter.com. I don't know, Stephanie, how can they reach you?
Stephanie at lawyerist.com.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. And we will see everybody soon. Thanks.
All right. Bye guys.